tote box. And you just fold the bottom down in it, and it's about what, 14 inches square, and it just folds up. And I just keep them in here in my office. But having those reusable cloth shopping bags around, that kind of thing that you can just have, because all of the things that they talk about here aren't things that you're keeping in some sealed vault that you're never going to use, that you're only going to keep for taking an emergency. These are all items that you use all the time, but you need to have a way to get them out of the house in a hurry. So those reusable shopping bags that you have around, keep some of those real handy in the house, or even the plastic, the single-use bags, but they're now making the ones that you spend a little bit at the store and they're recyclable, that are going to replace those. Handy containers, because for 15 minutes, you're going to need your wallet, you're going to need your keys, your glasses, your cell phone and charger, your credit cards, the bills that need to be paid, your hearing aids and some batteries for them, a change of clothes, the simple things that are listed here. But these are the things that you need to have with you for the next 24 hours. And they're the most important things to be able to continue your life. So, you need to have an easy container, because all you're going to take is what you can carry in your arms, basically. You're going to need to take your pet or pets, and something for them to eat, and a carrier. So know where your pet carrier is, because that cat or dog is not going to be comfortable in your arms when you're panicking. So, you need to know where the carrier is and that kind of thing that you could grab in a hurry. Now, if you have a little more time, like 30 minutes, maybe a storm is coming and they're saying, get out of your house. We don't have hurricanes here. So most storms are not get out of your house. When the mountain blew, the story was not get out of your house. It was stay in your house. But for some reason, the river was cresting and you were living near the river and they wanted you to get out of your house. And you've got a half an hour. Well, now you're going to need something overnight. So you've got pillows and things. So maybe know where your wheeled suitcases are, that they're not all kept in the attic, that there's some place where you could grab one. So one of them's kept under the guest bed. So you can take your medications and you can take more things for that's going to catch you through a night, in a hotel or something. And if you have animals, it's not easy to find a place for your pets to go. So you might want to kind of check out where you could go with your cat or your dog. The Motel 6, I guess, keeps animals, but they may be full. So check out with your friends. Then there's things where you have an hour to get out. A wildfire is coming and it may be coming to your area. You've got an hour, so you can take more things. There's got, you can take your guns, or you can at least put some things in an area of your house where they're going to be safe. They're talking about taking a cooler and some food, genealogy records. These are all suggestions. 3 days worth of food, gloves and face masks. Maybe the mountain did blow and you'll need to be protecting yourself, or there's some sort of a gas leak you're wanting to protect yourself. Insurance, financial records, power of attorney, things like that. A lot of these you can put on a thumb drive, just on one of these, and have it where you can where you can get a hold of it quickly, whether it's in your household safe or whatever, but you can put a lot of documents on that and papers and keep them safe, but not have to collect all the papers. Or you can copy those papers or put them in a plastic bag and have them where you can get at them very quickly. Then if you get down to 2 hours, they're saying, well, then you can start collecting, family photographs and personal things that you would want to take out of your house. And they're all suggestions, they're all on this list that you were given. So you can decide what's important to you to take. And when we were talking about the other day, they're talking about taking your artwork. And I said it wouldn't fit in my car. So you have to decide what you have space to take too, as well as what's important. Camping equipment, luggage and filling it up with more clothes. It just depends on the situation, but this gives you an idea of things you should, keep in your head of to what you might want to take and what kind of containers you might need for them and how to keep those containers where you're going to be able to get at them. That's the thing, is if there's some place where you can't get at them and you have to wait until your son-in-law comes from Seattle to even get at them, then they're totally worthless to you in an emergency.
Right.
So,
and I think the shopping bag idea, a lot of us have those grocery shopping bags. We have more than we could ever use, but
yes, I have a car full of them.
Knowing where they are, and I mean, they'd be pretty handy. They wouldn't be too heavy to carry several trips to
they're a usable size, and the nice thing is that they make whatever shape they need to be in the car, and you can lift them, that you don't get into the situation where you've packed everything you need in that suitcase and now you cannot lift it into the car. But you can shove them into whatever space you have and they will conform to that space. And I keep a whole stack of them on the floor of my back seat in my car because I use them for shopping. Well, I used to before. They now don't let you, but I know where they are and I can fill them and then shove them in the car and shove them in the car and shove them in the car.
Yeah.
So they're very handy to use for that. But kind of keep in your mind, where those things are and personalize these lists into, I don't have to remember to take my wallet. It's in my purse and I don't leave the house without my purse. So
yeah, and I think one point that Deborah Ann's made multiple times is really a lot of the stuff that is important for emergency is also stuff we're using. So that involves remembering where it all is. So I mean, that you're gonna have to figure out some system for that.
So you keep this list in this folder or binder or whatever you make, so that when the emergency does come, because your brain's not going to be working on all cylinders in an emergency probably.
Right. So, but again, as long as you can make notes on here about where these things are. I mean, this is in my garage, just so you know. And so, it's near the car. If I had to, I could throw it in. Things like your flashlights and your extra batteries and all those things, you're probably storing multiple places around the house. So make yourself some notes and see what happens. Okay, so we're up to more about, are there any questions on that? I mean, it's one of those things that's really just getting you to think about what's important to you, and you can move it up on the 15 or 20 or 30-minute list if it's important to you. And then you just need to know how you're going to get it into your car quickly and what you'll have time for. So going to pets, Deborah Ann alluded to that a little bit, but we wanted to talk more specifically about pets, and there is a two-sided handout on pets. We've already talked when we were talking about food and water about the fact that you need to plan for your pets. It's 14 gallons of water for one person, which is a 2-week supply, a gallon a day. But if you have pets, you need extra water. And just so everyone knows, Shopko is the place to go to get those easily totable gallons of water.
Oh, they got a better plan than Bimart?
Don't have Shopko anymore.
Where?
Oh,
We don't
we
have
don't have
Shopko.
Shopko anymore.
Oh, I'm sorry. I mean, what do I
Bimart.
mean? Bimart. I'm sorry. Bimart.
Bimart.
Bimart. I'm sorry. I mixed the two up. Bimart. And they have 6-packs of them. Or are they 6-packs?
Yeah, now they seem to have them in a box instead of in the plastic thing, but it's 6 gallons.
So you're going to have to either have somebody carry it to the car for you and take it apart, or get them to break it down so you can carry them to the car.
Right, yeah, they'll break the box for
Yeah.
you.
And then you can easily lift each gallon into the car.
Yeah.
And it's less than $1 a gallon. So, and they last 2 years. So put the date on them and you'll have them, and then you can use them for cooking or watering plants or whatever. And I figured $7 a year is not too much to pay to be sure you have safe water. And if you need more than that, remember that if you're home, you can't use the water from your hot water tank. That's safe water to drink. But may not be.
Mary Lou, this is just an aside, but I know Bimart's shop very well, and it seems to me they are thinking about older people and people who are confined to their homes in the things they have on the shelves. They
Yes,
have a lot of foods that you can get, and paper products and things
Yep.
like that. I think they've thought about older people in their purchases. So if you don't know the shop, you better go walk through.
Yeah,
I think you're right, Delma. I've never thought about it that way, but it does seem to appeal to an older crowd.
Yeah, it's good supplies.
I've never shopped at Bimart. I was kind of under the understanding you had to be a member of Bimart to go
It
shop
costs
there.
$5, I think, for a lifetime.
I'm not even sure.
$5.
I'm not even sure it costs $5. I think you can just get a membership thing, can't you?
Yeah, I'm not sure, but it's not anything like being a Costco member. I paid for a card when I moved here 25 years ago, and that's all it is. It's a formality.
Half the time, they don't even want to see it when you go in there.
No, half the time the gates open. But the only advantage to having the card is that on Tuesdays, they post some of the numbers and you can get a free candy bar or something.
Oh,
No, it's affordable. It's worth it, Rex. There's the
Yeah,
one
don't
down
worry
where
about
you and I
the
met near the
membership breakage,
Y,
yeah.
across from Fred Meyer, and then there's another one on 5th,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, Fifth down by Davis,
They're
and
both really good.
that's what I go to.
Good.
Yeah, go down there and join. It won't break the bank, Rex.
You'll more than make up for it with the water, because those things, if you go to Walgreen, you'll pay $1.98 or 89 per gallon instead of $1. So
They've
it's
got really good prices on prescriptions. They've got, you get your flu shot there. I mean, they're just real friendly, and things are really inexpensive there. It's like a mini small town Walmart.
They'll even help you to your car if you need help.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Ah,
good.
They're
Good.
very nice.
Yeah.
You'll like it.
all right.
Okay, so looking through this, again, we're repeating a little bit because you need to be sure you have extra food for your pet, especially if they're finicky, but they may not be able to be finicky. And don't forget some kind of container to put water in for them if you're going to be taking off. And I say this because if you had to evacuate with your pet, not only is it somewhat problematic where you can take them, because many emergency shelters will only take service dogs, but the other issue is that you may end up in your car with your pet, because the fact of the matter is that they make it very clear in all these handouts, if you leave your pet home, and it's really an emergency, they probably will not survive. So that's why you would take them with you. So you need to have some container for them to drink water from, water and their food. And then they say that, you think about your pet carrier, how you can carry them, how well they do in a car, and how many pets you have. And then medication,
You could get out through your office.
Yeah, I saw that.
and there's the medication issue. If they're on medications, you should have those with you, and or be sure to remember to take those, put them near your medications. And then they talk about collars and IDs. Now, several people on our planning session have pointed out that there's no way their cats are going to wear collars or IDs. And that may be, I mean, face the realities, think about your own situation. But I think the issue here is just that if you're going to take your pet someplace they haven't been before and it's kind of chaotic, you have to really be careful if you let them out, because they could wander off, they could freak out. They're going to be in an unfamiliar setting. So if you have a way to collar them or put them on a leash, that might be important to do that. If you can't do that, then you'll just have to figure out, what the alternative is. And then Chrissy was, she's going to send you, we tried to call Humane Society and Wags to Riches to ask them if they had any suggestions on where you could take pets in an emergency, but of course they're not in their offices right now, and they wouldn't be in an emergency either. So you got to call ahead if you and get an answer back on that. So if Chrissy's going to send you a website that has a bunch of links to different kinds of hotels. I mentioned Motel 6 because my sister and her husband always stay at Motel 6s because they let you have dogs with you. But again, it's going to be kind of chaotic in any kind of an evacuation. And, you may end up in a parking lot of some motel with your dog, or your cat, if you're trying to take them someplace. Let's see. Oh, then they talk about the value of microchipping your animals so they're permanently, so they can be found. Taking a picture of your pet from different angles, a picture of you with your pet, so they can identify you with your pet, etc.
And
Good.
even if you have their rabies, if you don't have, I mean, that's usually on their collar if it's a dog, but just having a picture of your cat's rabies records, instead of trying to have all the paperwork with you, just take a picture of it on your phone. So if the shelter does require it, you can show that they've had their latest rabies or other boosters, but mostly rabies is what they're going to worry about.
Okay.
Deborah?
I just had two thoughts. One is, I think I will get a harness for my cat.
Mhm.
She's mostly a house cat and, doesn't go out very much, but a harness would be a way of corralling her so she doesn't run out of the door, sometime if she's not in her kennel. And the other one was, because water is going to be a scarce commodity in an emergency like this, if you have a water bowl for your pet, make sure it's a sturdy one that doesn't tip over all the time and that it has a secure lid on it so you don't have to toss the water.
Good point.
Good.
Okay. Okay, then none of us have livestock, so I don't think. So I'm not going to go into that, but there is some information on livestock. I mean, you can imagine if you had to evacuate your cows and horses, and we do have some members with cows and horses, that would be rather major planning. You'd really need to know ahead how to do that. But I think most people who have animals have thought of that and have a way to transport them if they need to. Okay, that's that. Questions about pets. But Chrissy is going to send an email, a website that talks about different hotels, and you can click on their website and find out more about.
And it's a CDC link and it has all that information.
Okay. So then the other one we want to talk about is the shelter in place and ready.gov. One thing I thought was that's this one, kind of amusing about this is it's got out of date information on the coronavirus in it. It says that coronavirus can remain on certain surfaces for multiple hours. So obviously this is now out of date. But it talks about the importance of, remaining indoors if you're told to do that. And, I don't know how many of you have signed up for the emergency alert system, but obviously in an emergency, you'd immediately listen to the radio or television and try to find out what the recommendations were. And if you were sheltering at home, you'd want to be sure that you stayed inside as much as possible, and that you were aware of dangers outside. And, again, you'd be following the guidelines of the emergency alert system. One thing some of you may have noticed is they've added to the emergency alert system an early warning system for earthquakes, which is probably not as relevant over here as it is on the west side. But I noticed that, we can get earthquakes here.
Unless
So-
it's the big one.
Yeah. But even the big one, everybody will be affected by the big one.
Right.
And I noticed that none of the materials that we gave you have anything to do with a earthquake. So I am going to do a little pop quiz
Oh, good.
on earthquakes, just to see what we know and what we don't know. If I can find my pop quiz, which I probably can't.
Who's been in an earthquake?
Well, I didn't, yeah, kind of. I didn't notice
so-
too much.
What's the first thing you do in an earthquake? So I'm going to ask you, what do you do and what do you not do in an earthquake? Any ideas?
You don't tell your friends. This is the big one. Hi.
Oh boy, it's the big
Okay,
one.
Chrissy.
When you're downtown Seattle, this is the big one.
Well, I think you're supposed to get under a desk, which I won't do. Or you stand in a doorway.
Okay, well, you got part of it right and part of it not right. Anybody else
Okay.
have thoughts? I'll tell you which is which in a minute. Anybody else have thoughts?
Well, I'll tell you, if you have animals, they're gonna know before you do. And
Right?
they've warned, I've gone through several since I've lived here.
Uh-huh.
And dogs always know.
Yeah,
They bark.
they tend to be.
So do
early.
cats.
Okay. So what you're talking about, Rex, is you're supposed to drop wherever you are. You're supposed to try to get cover if you can, and
Right.
you're supposed to hold on until the shaking stops. So drop, cover, and hold on. And if you can't cover, you're supposed to cover your head with both arms, because your head is what you're worried about most.
Right.
Falling on your head. And the advantage of being under a table is that the table takes the brunt of that. If you can get under a table, good, but then you hold on to the leg of the table and put your other hand over your head, because if the table moves, you want to move with the table, right? If the table slides over, you want to stay under the table. So you're supposed to drop, cover, and hold on until the shaking stops. And what they say you should not do, and we'll send out this handout,
Okay.
what you should not do is not get under a doorway. They used to say that, Rex,
Yeah.
but now they don't
Oh.
say that anymore.
Okay.
Early earthquake photo is a collapsible adobe home with the door frame as the only standing part. From this came our belief that a doorway is the safest place to be during an earthquake. In modern houses and buildings, doorways are no safer, and they do not protect you from flying or falling objects, so get under a table instead. So they don't recommend getting under a doorway, and they don't recommend running outside. And they don't, this is really fascinating. This is very tempting to look into. Apparently there's a group called the Triangle of Life that is telling you, it says, do not believe the so-called Triangle of Life. In recent years, an email has circulated which recommends potentially life-threatening actions, and the source has been discredited by leading experts. So don't go to websites that are not credible. Go to CDC, FEMA, emergency planning. But don't just pick up on something online that says, oh my God, I'm supposed to do this, because there's incredible, right, incredible, discredited websites that are apparently spewing information that is not accurate and
That's
could be
that's pretty true of everything in this world right now, isn't it?
yes. So I think it's why you should go to a credible website. Yeah. Okay. So back to that,
Okay.
so staying at home, one reason might be earthquake. And then you might be asked to go to a shelter, and the 211 number, but also the emergency management number would tell you where to go. So would the radio tell you where those emergency shelters were. But again, it's important to remember that you can search by texting shelter and zip code. Shelter and your zip code, you can text and you'll probably get a shelter spot. But the most important thing is listen to your emergency radio or television and pay attention to emergency alerts. And that's how you're going to find out about it. And then sheltering in place. We had a really fun conversation about this in our planning session, because it tells you to pick a room with the fewest windows in your house in case you had to seal yourself off. So I picked my bathroom downstairs, which has just one little window, which definitely would need to be sealed off because it's a little stained glass window that probably would leaks quite a bit around it. It's a funky little window. I also have a fan in that bathroom, so I'd have to seal that off, and I'd have to seal the door off. And I picked that room because it's the least things to seal, and I would have water, and I would have a bathroom in there, a toilet in there. However, it did occur to me that I better bring my phone and charger. I better bring my radio, or I might stay in there way longer than I needed to. And Deborah Ann, in her wisdom, brought up, I love Deborah Ann, she's the perfect person to do this with. She said, well, if you seal off the room, how are you going to breathe? How long can you stay in a sealed off room? So I called the emergency management number and asked them that question. And this is what they said, which I thought was kind of fascinating, that a typical adult can spend 12 days in a sealed room without running out of oxygen. But they wanted to reassure us that that is not usually the length of time you're asked to seal yourself in a room. It would be closer to hours or possibly a day, but you're not going to be asked to stay for 12 days in a room. But that's what they came up with as an estimated time that you could spend in a sealed room and still be able to have enough oxygen. So we started thinking about, they recommend that you get heavy duty plastic, cut it to the size of the windows. And we all decided this is overkill. We're not going to do this. The only thing that you might want to do is have duct tape. I think you could use heavy duty garbage bags, those construction bags. If you have some of those around, that they might be worth getting a few of, because you could use them for other things. I could seal all the door and the windows off with those heavy duty bags and duct tape in very short order. But I better remember to take snacks if it's going to be hours. And phone and radio. So that's
what started this conversation about getting into a sealed room?
well, what they say is that
Nuclear.
local authorities may not immediately be able to provide information on what is happening and what you should do. But you're supposed to, this is in case of when you are, let's see. There may be situations where it's best to stay where you are and avoid uncertainty. If there's a lot of debris in the air, if local authorities say the air is badly contaminated and they may want to take some kind of action. If they think there's an immediate danger, you listen, you don't do it unless they tell you to do it. You watch TV, but then you bring your family and pets inside, you lock doors, close windows and air vents and fireplace dampers, turn off fans, take your emergency supply kit and get into an interior room with as few windows as possible and seal all the windows, doors and vents. And again, the chances of this being necessary in the Yakima Valley, we think are very small. So we don't recommend putting a lot of effort into it, but if you've thought of it, then at least if it were necessary, you'd have some idea of how to respond. That's the only reason we brought it up, because it was in it. That is in the FEMA, the shelter, the ready.gov shelter thing. I mean, I can see that there are parts of, the only thing I think of is someplace like Hanford might have some kind of a, I don't know, nuclear waste might escape somehow, gases. I mean, I'm making this up, but I honestly don't think this would happen. Or there might be some collision of some volatile gas that was being carried by trucks on the freeway, and they might tell you to temporarily seal yourself in rooms until they were sure that it was not. Or there might be, you know, a volcano with a much more debris than the last one, but again, unlikely that you're going to be sealing yourself in the room.
Okay.
Okay, so that's our story, and we're sticking with it. So we wanted to just sort of pull together some final thoughts, and here they are. You know, at the second class, we gave you this, and I remember Rex, you said, you know, we didn't really deal with this. This is the family planning guide from the Yakima emergency management people. It's a multiple page thing. I think if you look through that now, you'll see that we have really covered most of that stuff, and it's a good reminder. Again, it has its own lists of things that you should have. It talks about what are the likely local emergencies. It has a bunch of local numbers like 211 and what you can find out there. It has 911, it has the Office of Emergency Management. And if you don't have that number on your emergency contact numbers, you should probably add the emergency management number to that list that you have in your car and your wallet and everything else. So
Your cell phone.
Yeah, call that. And then it's got poison control and, you know, American Red Cross and animal control and all of those numbers. So there's those numbers. There's a list of what kinds of emergencies are likely in our area. And then it talks about sheltering in place. It talks about sealing off rooms. So they clearly think that's an issue as well. And then it talks about disaster planning. It talks about supply kits. And again, you've already seen all of this stuff. It talks about how to sanitize water if you need to. But you can look at that. And then what we did on our summary sheet was, as I told you a little earlier, I just listed, okay, in the first session, we suggested you sign up for the Alert Yakima. Did you do that or not? Did you keep the website? Did you create a folder to put your handouts in? Do you have the websites if you want to do more research? In the second session, what about your fillable emergency information? Have you filled that out yet? Are you planning to do that? And on the side, there are places to take notes about things that you might want to remind yourself of. And then, do you have a phone pouch? Do you have your critical numbers in your phone? Do you want to come to the phonophobia party when we have it? Do you have radio and batteries, et cetera? So it just goes down each session and what you might have done with those. And so we recommend that you look through that you check off what you've done and give yourself credit for that. Do the things that seem most important to you. I mean, the list of what you could do for an emergency is huge. And as you know, and I mean, we pared it down, but my view is once you've thought of these things, certain things pop out to you that seemed very important. And so do those first, do those things first. And then if you've at least thought, I mean, I think being able to turn off your utilities, actually going out and finding where they are, I think that's really important to do. Thinking ahead about your pets if you have them and what you could do about that. Because, I mean, I know somebody who has huge emergency preparedness plans, and since they did that, has pets and hasn't thought about, wow, we have to have water and food for our pets and our emergency supplies. So just be thinking of those things. And then our final word, and Inga's going to help us with this, is just that, mainly knowing the ways that you are prepared and thinking about the things you have during this time, and then staying calm and, and trying to problem solve. And I think that the more you've thought ahead, the calmer you can be. Remain calm and patient, follow the advice of local emergency officials, listen to your weather radio or local radio station and television for news and instructions, listen to emergency alert, know your neighbors. Those things are probably going to help you more than anything. And Inga, you were going to chime in here. Please do.
Oh, I was just adding, let's not forget to remind everyone that the most important thing is just to stay calm and to not lose your wits. And I think those of us who were here when the mountain blew that Sunday learned a lot about that and what exactly that entailed. I remember it well because we had 3 kids in the back seat and we were going hiking, as we always did on Sundays, and got out there and then thought we had just hit a downpour of rain. But of course we got outside and realized this was no rain at all. This was indeed ash. And Dick and I had been on the east side, on the west side the day before, and got back, and so we had already seen some on the cars. We were not, I suppose, as surprised as we would otherwise have been. But the issue then was, now what do we do? So I quickly filled up the bathtub with water. I thought we can't run out of water. But that was about what I did, because my main concern was Christopher, who was 9, and he was visibly upset. The other 2 were college students, so they handled it a whole lot better. So I spent the afternoon playing chess with him because this was something he liked to do, and that kept his attention on that. So we all got through it. We had lunch, we had dinner, we had a glass of wine, and we got through that to the next day. And you're right, we were of course told to stay indoors, but Lise got sick and I had to take her to the emergency room. So there was really no debate about that. So out I drove through all that ash, got to the emergency room, the child was treated, then I drove back home. And so you don't know what you are called upon to do. And so I think it's very important that you respond with just as much calmness and as much good sense as you possibly can. I think you'd be wise to do some of the things we have suggested, but when all is said and done, keep a steady mind and do what the situation demands. And I think that we got through that. And the issue is that we have no idea really of imagining the nature of what we might be up against. We don't know the nature of the disaster. It could be natural, as it was with Mount St. Helens, or it could be something entirely different. So we are in, I think, a difficult situation. It's good to think about it. It's good to talk about it. And it's very good to keep our wits about us.
Good point. Good point. Okay. Well, what question now? So we're going to send you a follow-up. We're going to send you the handouts that you didn't see, the ones that we thought you got. We're going to send those out again. And couple new websites, the information on what to do if there's an earthquake. Anything else that comes to mind from anybody? Yeah, Rex?
Well, this is just another factor in there. It has nothing to do with what you've done or not done through this class, but one of the things going through my mind is that I need to plan not only for myself, but someone, my wife, who's living with me, that is having issues with memory problems, and one who becomes confused more often, and someone who doesn't always understand what I am telling her or why I am telling her things.
Mhm.
And so I'm putting all of these things and images together of what you're suggesting, and I have to think, we don't have any, pets, but I'm going to have to think about, all right, how am I going to handle an emergency situation with someone who may or may not understand what is going on, or may not understand what I'm trying to ask her to do.
Mhm.
And that's always different from day to day.
Mhm. That's a really important point, Rex. I mean, and it seems to me that's where thinking about if there's a neighbor who could help, or if there's someone who lives close enough to you that they're kind of on call, that you might need assistance. I mean, that
Yeah.
really makes sense to me. And
Yeah.
you know, it's you know, I think part of the reason that they're emphasizing being prepared for an emergency ourselves is that we're more able to help other people. But what really matters is in an emergency is people helping people, and being able to ask for the help you need, as well as giving the help you can offer. And you know, I think that's going to be important for everyone. But I think it's particularly important in the situation you're describing. If you have, I mean, if you're living with someone who needs extra help and you have pets, that's another whole situation
Right.
that you have to plan around. And, you know, it's pretty tough. Yeah. Anybody have other thoughts on that? Yeah, Judy?
Oh, not on that. I wanted to get my pulse form done so I could stick it in the freezer.
Uh-huh.
You know, and
Uh-huh.
I couldn't remember how to get one. So I called Julie at Long-Term Care and Aging, and to see if they had them there. And she said, no, you have to get those from your doctor. Is that true?
That's true.
I know you might be able to get them otherwise, but they have to sign them. So you might as well
Okay,
get them.
so they
Yeah.
probably have them there at the
You
office.
just go to your doctor. That's what I did.
Yeah.
When I was going to my doctor, I said, I want to do a pulse, and they have them at their office, and then you can take them home and look at them if you want, and come back and have them sign them after you've filled them out, or you can fill them out right there if you know what you really want to do. Yeah, but you have to get them from your doctor.
It has to be signed.
Could you
Yeah.
pick one up without an appointment? Could you just go get one and
Yeah,
do
I'm
it?
sure if you called
Probably,
down there,
yes.
just call and say you want to pick up a pulse.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Judy, you can just go to Google or whatever your search engine is and look up Pulsed, P-O-L-S-T, and you will find it online. And so you can kind of prep yourself to read what's on that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, or print one out. It may not be, it's not going to be the lime green color. That's the
Right.
official one, but
Okay.
you can do
But you
that.
have to have the lime green
Judy,
one
if you
from your
need one.
doctor. to
Yeah,
do
the
it.
lime green one will be from your doctor. They'll sign it and you'll go through it. Rex, I
Judy, I might
wonder,
have an extra one if you need one. I think I have an extra one.
A POLT, P-O-L-T.
P-O-L-S.
OLST.
It's
Okay.
and Rex, for you, I don't know if like having, this is very specific, but if you had that emergency book or something that would say to your loved one, remember this is our emergency book. We're doing this now. Or a flashcard or something. There's some websites I can give you. There's a person called Teepa Snow. She is an excellent facilitator, a person that helps people work with their loved ones that have dementia. She's really great. She's on Facebook. She's everywhere. I've been to a lot of her conferences when I used to work with people with Alzheimer's and dementia. Her name is Teepa Snow.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I could send some information to you, Rex, if you wanted me to email that to you.
Yeah, I would definitely look at that.
Okay.
good. And Judy, look, it looks like that. And I think I have an extra one. I'll see if I can find, if I do, I'll text you. Okay.
Well, I have it looks kind of familiar. I have a feeling that I already have one on file with my doctor, both Andrea and I.
Your
It has-
doctor has a copy of it, but you have to have this green one someplace where if somebody medical comes into your house from 911, they see that and then they know how to treat you.
Yeah. Because
And it-
otherwise
Say
you are,
life support or no life support document.
In
And
fact, they say the refrigerator.
Yeah, it's either
Yeah,
on
you
the
can keep it on
refrigerator.
your refrigerator, Or if,
In a Ziploc bag in your freezer.
or you
That's
can,
where they
like
look.
that emergency sheet that we've been talking about, that you put all that information on, and you fold that up in a little case on your refrigerator. I put a little note in that case that says that my pulse is in the freezer.
Yeah, when my mom was in the retirement home up at Living Care, everybody had one of those in their
Yeah.
freezer. So the emergency people are used to looking.
Yes.
That's where they're required to look. That's where they're
Yeah.
required to look. Yeah.
Otherwise, they will practice all measures.
That's right.
And if you don't want that,
Yes. If you don't want that,
but
then
it's
you
a
have
lot
to have
to,
a pulse that says otherwise.
It's physician's orders for life-sustaining treatment. That's what
Right.
it stands for.
Okay.
Yeah, and my doctor has one of those on file for both Andrea and I.
Right. So where's your copy of it though?
I don't think I have one.
You have to have the original, because it's not just for your doctor. It's for if 911 comes into your house.
Right.
So you better
Find out about
talk
that.
to your doctor and find out where the original, where the green copy is, and get one for yourself.
don't bark, Sally.
Or recreate it. You can recreate it
Yeah.
if you need to. Yeah. Yeah.
So many things.
Yeah, because your doctor, if 911 come in your house, and you weren't breathing, your doctor would have no knowledge of that.
All right. Well, and I guess what I got set up with my doctor, and maybe I'll just say see the family medicine for.
But he can't. It's an emergency situation. 911 has to do something right then.
Well, at the moment that they come in, I would want them to do whatever they could until it's assessed later.
Okay.
what my status
Okay,
is going.
Okay, then that's what will happen. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
then that's fine.
Okay. So
You know,
Judy, you had your question about the pulse. Did anybody else want to mention anything else?
Well,
As
the
we wrap
most
up.
security I have, maybe my situation is unique, but all of this grass are on the hill, the between the houses and down over the hill. We've had a fire every year except last year. And Rennie and his crew went up the hill on their hands and knees and pulled out every grass.
Wow.
So the hill is perfectly clear and dry now. And that is a big comfort to me.
Yes.
I bet that is. Good. Yeah, you live right on the edge. That's something that, I mean, if we're in neighborhoods, I don't see myself as particularly at risk in my neighborhood, but I think you have to think about your neighborhood and what dangers are there, because we certainly know people, all of us, who do live on the edge of some very dry areas, and they would have to be concerned. That the other thing I want to say is that when we've called down like to emergency management to get information, they're very helpful. They're fascinated that we care. They're glad to hear we care. I said, we're getting together a bunch of old people. We're figuring out how to be ready. They're delighted. And so they'll be as helpful as they can. So if questions come up, don't, and in fact, when you call emergency management number, the first thing you hear is that, there's a number for emergency information. And when I called, they were already evacuating some area for fire danger already now.
Oh.
And so, and then there's another line that you call for information, and, but the emergency information is constantly on their call. And then I get emergency alerts more often than I wish, but I've decided it's kind of interesting. Most of them are wind warnings or freeze warnings. But it is good to know that now there's I guess it's not as good as the new app that they've developed in California and Oregon, I think, for earthquakes, is supposed to give you a minute or two to make a decision before you get the earthquake. Ours is going to have a little bit more of a delay, but that's why it is good to know what to do if there's an earthquake coming, because you will get an alert about that if you're on the emergency alert system. And so knowing to drop and cover, whether it's with your hands or underneath something, and hold until it stops shaking is a good thing to know. So,
Yeah,
I
that
believe
leaves
that
problems
earthquake
for people like
stuff
me who
that
can't get down on the ground.
pardon me?
That leaves problems for people like me who getting down on the ground is a real problem.
Right.
Yeah.
That is.
Amen to that.
Yeah. Well, how would you modify that, do you think? I mean, I think just knowing that your head is the most vulnerable and thinking about how you can protect it, you know?
I don't know. There's a lot of dilemmas like, trying to get out of the house in the middle of the night. I've got a 5-minute process of putting on my leg.
Yeah, that is true. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And your handy dandy toilet, it's like, okay, I can get down there, but there's no way to get up.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. Well,
I was on my knees all day planting.
Well,
But,
these are the realities.
that emergency thing that you were talking about in Oregon and California,
Yeah.
I read someplace that they're in the process of doing that for Washington State. They're going to be doing it in Washington State first, but eventually it's going to get out here to Eastern Washington. So we're going to have that system too.
Yeah. And they've got something now it says, let's see, cell phone earthquake alerts debut in Washington with a catch.
Oh.
That's an article from the Seattle Times. And it just says that the emergency division has been working on a nonprofit to develop an emergency preparedness app set to launch in June. Shake Alert was supposed to be part of the package, but it proved too challenging for the all-volunteer team. So they're not going to do Shake Alert yet, but I think their goal is to do Shake Alert is what they have in California and Oregon. But then he said that leaves Washington residents with 2 main routes to access earthquake alerts. Those with Android phones are in the best position because Google integrated Shake Alert into its operating systems for near instantaneous delivery and a graphic display that urges users to take cover. Everyone else will be relying on the federal wireless emergency alert system used to push out Amber Alerts, flood warnings, and urgent messages in the area. And that's what the emergency alert thing I have is, because I don't have an Android phone. And it reaches all types of cell phones and carriers. And the downside is it wasn't built for the speed of situations where seconds matter. The Shake Alert is built for immediate speed so that you have some warning.
How do you
one
get
that
it
we
if you
have-
have an Android phone? Because I've got an Android.
Yeah, so look into it. You can look up Shake Alert and see whether it's part of your phone. It sounds like
Okay.
it might be. That it's more accessible on Android phones than it is on
Okay.
Apple. Yeah, good. Okay, well, thanks everybody. And Marlene, we see you there. We don't hear you or see you, but we know we see your name.
We know you're lurking in the corner there, Marlene.
We're glad you came, but we don't know if you need any of the handouts, but be sure to give us some feedback. We'll get you an email about this. So be thinking about whether, we don't know when we're going to plan a phonophobia get together for anyone who wants to practice using their cell phone and entering numbers in it or texting other people or anything else. But
Learning tricks on your phone.
if you want to
Getting
help
more
other
comfortable
people
with
or
it.
get help yourself on that, let us know. And
And it'll be a fun party.
it will be a fun party.
You can help somebody else.
Yep. Hey, sounds good. Yeah. We're not going to practice getting on and off the luggable loo, however. I won't be
Thank
doing
you.
a demonstration of that.
I'm okay.
This-
Easily followed by the
scam.
falling off the ladder.
The latest scam. Can you see that?
What?
This is the latest scam.
I don't know what that is. We can't see it.
Oh, okay, it says vehicle alert notice. You're gonna lose the ability to drive your car. You're gonna lose your car. You're gonna lose your insurance. I spent a sleepless night because my car is 20 years old this year. And
Oh, good.
somehow they have those records and now they're using them to sell insurance.
No, they don't have any records at all. It's simply a blind scam.
Well, how did they find out my car was 20 years old?
They didn't know your car was 20 years old. Does it say that your car is 20 years old?
No, but that's the reason I'm gonna lose it.
No, it's not. They just,
According to this, see. That's,
according to
So,
that thing,
I finally said, are you an insurance company?
did
And
you
the whole
call them?
thing just fell apart.
Did you call them? Delma, did you call
No, I had no, this came in the mail to
them?
me.
Yep, it just came in the mail. I got one too.
Did you?
Everybody
Vehicle
gets them.
alert notice. Okay, they fell apart when I said, are you an insurance company? And
Good.
they even became kind of just sympathetic. The kids then kind of helped me
Good.
out of it. So I didn't feel
Good.
the unease about it.
Mhm.
You love that stuff.
You
Did
Well,
you
you
give
come out and
the
play with
phone?
your phone real soon.
Did you give him the phone number for your friend in India?
That would be a good idea. Actually, we got to get Nels to call and tell them where to go, right?
Right.
I think she should have hooked him up with her friend in India.
That would be,
Boy, have I got the guy
poetic
for you,
justice.
honey.
yeah. All right. Well,
Good.
listen, thanks to everybody for joining
All
us
right.
on this, and how both Chrissy will send out that info. Chrissy, I'll get you the shake alerts.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Dad,
One more thing, Mary Lou.
What?
Does everybody know where the city water meter is?
Where the city water meter is?
Yeah.
No.
I need to know.
Where
Oh,
I know where the water, I'm working on the water turnoff, but what about where the water meter is out on the street, right?
Yeah, it's usually out right by the street, and it's usually about 3 feet deep.
Yeah,
And a lot of us won't be able to reach down and turn it off, but you get somebody else to do it. And you should know where it is, so you can direct people to help you turn it off.
but
And
Mike,
that's in case you have an earthquake or a real hard freeze.
well, Mike, but you could turn it off in the house, right?
Yes.
No, I'm talking about the main city water meter.
Yeah,
Water comes through the meter and then goes to your house.
right. But why would we need to turn it off out there if we could turn it off in our house?
You might have the pipeline between the city street and your house rupture.
Okay. Then you need to. Okay, that's a good point.
Well, earthquakes happen.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
Hard frost, I've been in hard frost here in Yakima, but it has broken pipes.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
well,
okay, well,
probably
that's a
the
good
one
point.
though, but yeah.
So it's just a caution, know where it is, so you can get people directed to where they have to go.
Okay, yeah, I think I've seen people reading my meter out there before,
Yeah.
because that's how they
Well, that's good.
check your
And
water
you
use.
pull it off and reach down and turn the water off.
I don't think I could do it myself, no.
no.
Well,
But you need to kind of have a tool to do that. It's a rod that.
Will do it.
It's like the,
Well,
tor-
yeah, if you-
it's like the turn off for the turn on and turn off for the irrigation system water, right?
Well, it's nice to have that kind of tool, but if you don't, you can do it with a crescent wrench. I
Yeah.
turned mine off while it was a crescent wrench.
Right,
But
yeah,
You're right about having to get down there. Because I remember I used to have to turn my water in Suquamish off that way when I had because my meter was like a half a mile from my house. But if I had a line break, I'd have to go over there. And
yeah.
so he's right. If you have a line break between the meter and the house, you have to turn it off there.
Mhm.
Right.
The boy adds up quick.
Okay, well, that's another thing to add to our lists, folks.
Mm-hmm.
I think most of the time you can turn it off inside the house, but
But if your
there's an
line
earthquake-
breaks out, if you have an earthquake and the line breaks outside, you've got big water spreading everywhere.
That's a good,
Right.
okay.
Right.
Well, go, when we're looking for your gas meter and thinking about your water turn off inside, think about that too. I'm trying to think of the prize we can give somebody who finds, who figures out how to turn their water off outside. Be sure to let us know if you do, because we want to,
Well, I know where my main water turn off is. It's on the other side of Terrace Heights Drive, down in this well, it underground, full of spiders.
Mine
And I don't
too.
go there. I've never gone there. I know where it
I
is. but-
do.
yours is two?
Uh-huh.
Is it, where is it, where is yours?
Outside in a deep well.
Okay,
And so I have to hire somebody to come out and turn it on, turn it off every year.
And it isn't even my well. I call Jimmy and he does it. It's his well.
well, so what do you do if there's an earthquake then? You just get wet?
Hope it breaks at Jimmy's property or someplace short of mine.
Mhm.
But yeah, you can definitely turn the water off to the house. Mine's over by the hot water tank, and you can turn it off for the house. But you know, Mike is right that if anything happens between that spot
Mhm.
and out to the meter out on the street,
Mhm.
then that doesn't turn that off, and so that would be an issue for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
But
that's interesting. They don't mention that.
$6,000 too.
I don't think they think that's very realistic for most people because they don't mention it in most of the planning things, but you know,
Right, yeah.
but I think, you know, that's where your neighbors and you would get together and do the best you could if you had to try to figure that out. That's just,
We're supposed to be above that.
All
I'm
right.
glad you brought that up, Mike. Something else for us to worry about.
Yeah. Thanks a
Well,
lot.
well, Mike, if it comes to that, I've got an irrigation valve wrench.
Good. Okay, well, you'll be in hot demand.
You just
Deborah.
come right on over and get it.
Yeah, right.
All right. Well, thanks, everybody. And
All right.
Okay.
let
Thank
you know.
for putting all this together.
Yes, thank you.
It
Bunch
was
of
a
good
lot of
stuff
fun
for
doing-
us all to worry
Thanks
about.
for coming.
You guys do an awful lot of work and an awful lot of good,
Well, put it in a notebook and use it as you can. I mean, I figure if you just survive 4 sessions, we're wiser than we would have been.
yeah,
We
Okay.
learned as we went, you know.
We did. We learned as we went, and you know, and I definitely I have water in my basement. I've got 2 kinds of food. I've got Deborah Ann's version and my dry dehydrated food because I have to think about if I had to evacuate, I'd have to take a pan. I'd have to my camp stove, but I'd have to have a pan to heat water, and I have a little camp set of pans. I
I'm
need.
waiting for you to have a dinner party with that stuff.
Yeah, I think so.
Hey, we could have an emergency potluck. How about that?
Yeah, there you go.
yeah, there you go. All right.
Whip up some
I'm
Thai
going
chicken
to go.
soup.
Okay.
All right.
Good to see
Okay.
you all.
All right.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.